you and I talked about, again, Wan'Dale Robinson, what he was able to do at Nebraska. He does scare me a bit. Will Levis's ability to move the ball. I'll tell you something else, though. I was impressed with Kentucky. I watched Kentucky-Louisville on Sunday, watched that game back, and Kentucky went up and down the field. Will Levis, 4 rushing touchdowns. And the only guy I can think of that Iowa played this year that sort of reminds me of Will Levis would be Sean Clifford. And that's sort of an odd coincidence, but not really, because, of course, Levis is a Penn State kid originally. So when Sean Clifford was in that game against Iowa, Penn State pretty much dominated, whether you want to admit that or not, at least on that side of the ball. So he does worry me a bit. I don't think he's got the arm talent that a Sean Clifford has, but he's more athletic than Sean Clifford. I'll tell you that right now. He had a beautiful run where he juked a man out of his shoes, hurdled another man within a sequence of it lasted about 5 seconds. So, it does concern me a bit. I do think Iowa will win this game. I did make the pick earlier this week. I think they'll cover, obviously, because I think Kentucky's favored right now. Correct? Are they? And that may move, but I think is it still 2.5? The line
last
right now?
I checked, I don't know what the
so
line is.
Confident they'll cover and win. So, but again, it is an interesting storyline, and you just hope this game happens. I hate to be sitting here on December 28th, 2021, Mark, 2 years into this pandemic, saying we hope the game happens. I did see somebody in the chat, Mark, that asked who I think will start. It's not who I think will start. It's who will start. Spencer Petras is the starter. There is no debate. There's no question about this. All right. Unless Spencer has an injury, a nagging injury, he is the starter on Saturday. All right. That's just how it is. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I'm not there every day in practice, so I can't say 100% that Alex Padilla should start, but I would prefer Alex Padilla start. But I just there's a lot of clickbait on Twitter today about, we don't know who the starter is yet. Kirk's not announcing it, and the players aren't, they're not offering their take on the situation. Petras is the starter, Mark. I mean, and maybe I'm just bitter because I'm tired of it. I like Spencer. He seems like a really nice kid. I saw he was involved in a big donation to the Children's Hospital the other day that was publicized on a Twitter account. And, I saw he gave some tickets away to a random fan on Twitter. He's a man of the people, Mark, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's the best option at quarterback. I don't believe he is right now. And I'd like to see Padilla, and maybe we will see Padilla. I kind of doubt it. If Spencer starts, I bet Spencer finishes. But again, we don't know what will happen, and injuries are always part of the game. And Spencer has dealt with some injuries this year. Have heard nothing more about transfer portal quarterbacks, so I'm not even going to really address that on today's show. We're in the same spot we were a week ago at this time. But as far as running back is concerned, no Tyler Goodson, of course. Ivory Kelly-Martin is getting, it sounds like, according to multiple media outlets who are at practice today, Ivory Kelly-Martin was sharing snaps with along with Gavin Williams. So both those guys will get snaps. I think Gavin will probably get more snaps, would be my guess. And Ivory Kelly-Martin, if he fumbles the ball, he's out. He's done. You can't have, a lot of people are surprised he's on the depth chart at all. They're giving him a chance here because he's been a really good teammate. He's been a really good leader for this team, especially with some of the issues off the field last year before the season started. So I think they're trying to throw him a bone. But again, if he drops the ball, he's out. And that leaves a very thin group of running backs, Gavin and LaShawn Williams, and then Devin Hilson, kid out of Des Moines, who's not played a snap to at least that I'm aware of. So it'll be interesting. I'm excited for the game. And I'd like to see some guys like LaShawn Williams, like Gavin Williams. I know you want to get Kelly-Martin his reps, but let's get some of these young guys an opportunity to see what they can do before we head into spring practice.
So Corey is on the record for picking Iowa to win this game against Kentucky. I am not on the record. I have yet to make my selection. I'm going to tell you that it's going to take a little bit of thought out of me to separate these two teams, because I do think that there is much to try to make out of past performance. And I got to say that I'm slightly inclined to pick Kentucky. I just think that they're a little bit more balanced of a team with not the obvious offensive woes that are plaguing the Hawkeyes.
Well, they have the pieces too, and I'm not saying it's going to be a Purdue. They don't play like Purdue, but if there's one mismatch on the field, it's Wan'Dale Robinson against whoever he matches up against. Okay. And I like Riley Moss, but he is not the best defensive back in the Big Ten. Okay. A lot of these awards go, they're not political per se, but there's politics involved, right? And I don't think he's the best defensive back on this team. And this is going to maybe anger some Iowa fans too, or big Riley Moss fans, but I think he's maybe the third best defensive back on this team. And that might be giving him more credit because I think Terry Roberts might be better. Matt Hankins, I think, is better. And Dane Belton is better. With that being said, this is a very good defensive backfield. I've been saying this since August. And it's performed well. Riley Moss has performed well, but Riley has succumbed at times to go routes. We saw him get beat in a couple double cuts against Kent State early in the year. So he's had his moments against Kentucky schools. Let's hope it's not this Saturday against a Kentucky school. But Wan'Dale Robinson has the ability to beat anybody deep. Will Levis also has the ability to be a bit erratic. He can be turnover prone at times. Iowa's actually one of the worst teams in the Big Ten forcing fumbles. There is a misconception that Iowa is just incredible at forcing turnovers. They're very good at forcing interceptions, Mark. Not very good at all forcing fumbles. So that is something that at times Kentucky has been, they have one of the worst turnover margins in the country, worst in the SEC at they only force 0.8 turnovers per game, I believe. But again, if you can't force fumbles, you better hope you can figure out a way to force an interception. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, bowl prep, a lot can change. Maybe there's some young guys that have developed. Kirk always talks about the value of having a bowl prep for some of the younger guys. And we know there's going to be opportunity because Hankins is out. Terry Roberts did not practice today. He's out as of right now. We know Tyler Goodson's out. So there are opportunities for guys to shine. I'm hearing, Mark, that the offensive line is staying basically what we've seen it. It's Richmond on the right, on the left, Plum on the right, and then probably a mix of Ince, Justin Britt, Connor Colby at the two guard spots, and of course Kyler Schott too. We don't want to forget him. And then Linderbaum is playing. And kudos to Tyler Linderbaum. If there's any guy that has any reason to sit out a bowl game, it's Tyler Linderbaum, and he didn't even think about it. So that's just who he is. Again, not dissing anybody who decides to sit out. I think it's disappointing when it happens, but I give credit to Tyler for sticking with it.